I am 32 years old, a software engineer from Boston, who thought I had found the love of my life. 3 years with Jessica planning our perfect wedding by the ocean. Everything seemed like a dream come true. The diamond ring, the venue, the guest list, all set for our special day in just 2 weeks. When she called about attending her friend's bachelorette party in Miami, I had no idea that phone call would shatter my entire world and leave me questioning everything I believed about love and trust. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe if you have ever trusted someone who completely betrayed you. The moment I saw Jessica across the room at my friend Dylan's housewarming party, something just clicked. She was laughing with a group of people, her dark hair falling over her shoulders, and when our eyes met, she smiled in a way that made my heart skip. Later that night, we discovered our shared love for hiking and fantasy novels, particularly the Stormlight Archive series. I worked up the courage to ask for her number, and by the end of the night, we had already planned our first date. We met at Thinking Cup on Newberry Street, expecting a quick coffee, but ended up talking for 8 straight hours. Jessica worked as a marketing director for a tech startup, and her intelligence and ambition matched her beauty. She told stories with such animation and listened with genuine interest when I talked about my work in software development. Unlike previous relationships where I always felt I was trying too hard, conversation with Jessica flowed effortlessly. Over the next few months, we fell into a comfortable rhythm. Weekend hikes in the Blue Hills, cooking dinner together, while debating the merits of different fantasy authors and introducing each other to our favorite hidden spots around Boston. She understood my occasional need for quiet time when coding problems consumed my thoughts, and I supported her through stressful product launches. It felt like we complemented each other perfectly. After 18 months together, we decided to move in. We found a cozy 2-bedroom condo in Cambridge with a small balcony overlooking a tree-lined street. Combining our lives was surprisingly easy. Her decorative touches warmed up my minimalist furniture, and we quickly established routines that worked for both of us. The next year and a half brought both challenges and growth. Jessica was passed over for a promotion she deserved, and I helped her navigate her disappointment and eventually land an even better position at a different company. When my father had a health scare, she was by my side during hospital visits, bringing coffee and making sure I remembered to eat. We celebrated holidays with both families, creating new traditions that blended our backgrounds. Our friend circle expanded as we hosted game nights and summer barbecues. Everyone commented on how well we fit together, how we seemed to communicate without words sometimes. Her friends became my friends, and vice versa, until it felt like we had built this wonderful community around us. Buying our condo together was a huge step. We spent weekends visiting open houses, discussing neighborhoods, and planning our future. When we finally found the perfect place in Somerville, with a small yard and renovated kitchen, signing those mortgage papers together felt significant. This was our home, our investment in a shared future. After 3 years together, I knew Jessica was the one I wanted to spend my life with. I planned the proposal for months, choosing a beautiful hiking trail in Acadia National Park that led to a spectacular ocean view. The ring burned a hole in my pocket as we climbed, and I kept touching it nervously to make sure it was still there. When we reached the summit, the sun was setting over the Atlantic, painting the sky in pinks and oranges. I told Jessica how much she meant to me, how she had changed my life, and then I got down on one knee. Her hands flew to her mouth, tears forming in her eyes. "Artemis, yes. Of course, yes," she cried before I even finished asking the question. We laughed about that later, how eager she was. She put on the ring with shaking hands, and we spent the rest of the evening calling our families and friends to share the news. The wedding planning began immediately. Jessica had always dreamed of a summer wedding, so we set the date for June 15th, giving us about 9 months to prepare. We found a gorgeous venue on the North Shore, with panoramic ocean views and gardens for the ceremony. Jessica spent weekends with her mother and friends looking for the perfect dress, coming home excited but refusing to show me any pictures because it is bad luck. Together we tasted cakes, selected floral arrangements, and built our playlist. We decided on a smaller wedding, about 75 guests, wanting an intimate celebration with the people who truly mattered to us. I surprised Jessica by arranging dance lessons, wanting our first dance to be special. Those Thursday evening lessons became one of my favorite parts of wedding planning, laughing as we stepped on each other's toes and gradually improved. As the date approached, everything was falling into place. The RSVPs were coming and the honeymoon to Greece was booked, and Jessica had her final dress fitting. I remember watching her one evening as she addressed thank you cards in advance, thinking how lucky I was to have found someone so thoughtful and organized, someone who complimented me so perfectly. I had never been more certain about anything in my life than I was about marrying Jessica. Everything changed exactly 16 days before our wedding. Jessica received a call while we were making dinner, and her whole demeanor shifted when she saw the caller ID. She took the call in the bedroom with the door closed, which was unusual for her. When she emerged, 20 minutes later, she was bubbling with excitement. "That was Amanda," she said, referring to her friend from college. "She is throwing a last-minute bachelorette party in Miami this weekend. I know it is close to the wedding, but she has been so busy with her residency that this was the only time that worked for everyone." I was surprised by the timing, but wanted to be supportive. "Of course you should go," I said. "It will be good for you to have some fun before the wedding craziness." Something felt off, though. Jessica packed far more outfits than necessary for a 3-day trip, including several new dresses I had never seen before. She was vague about the itinerary, mentioning only that they had rented a beach house and planned to just relax by the ocean. The morning of her departure, I drove her to the airport. She seemed distracted, checking her phone constantly. Our goodbye kiss felt hurried, almost perfunctory. "I will text you when I land," were her last words before disappearing through security. True to her word, she texted that afternoon, "Landed safe. Meeting the girls for dinner. Love you," I responded immediately, but it took her hours to reply with just a heart emoji. I brushed off my concerns, telling myself she was simply enjoying time with her friends. The second day brought only 2 brief texts from Jessica. One in the morning saying they were heading to the beach, and another late at night that just said, "So tired. Going to bed. Talk tomorrow." I asked how the party was going, whether they were having fun, but received no response. Again, I tried not to overthink it. By the 3rd day, Sunday, when she was supposed to return, the communication ceased entirely. My calls went straight to voicemail. My texts showed as delivered but remained unread. I called the hotel where she said they were staying, only to be told they had no reservation under any of the names I provided. Panic set in. Was she okay? Had something happened? I called Amanda, but she did not answer either. I reached out to other mutual friends who seemed strangely evasive, saying things like, "I am sure everything is fine," or "Maybe her phone died." That evening, when Jessica was supposed to be flying home, I received a text, "Staying one more day. Signal bad. Call tomorrow." One day turned into 2, then 3. No calls. No proper explanations. Growing desperate, I opened Instagram and began searching through the accounts of Jessica's friends. Amanda had made her profile private recently, which seemed odd, but another friend from the group, Tara, still had a public account. What I found shattered my world. Tara had posted photos from the weekend, but they were not from Miami. The geotag showed Cancun, Mexico. In the background of one photo, I spotted Jessica sitting at a beach bar. A man had his arm around her shoulders, his face partially obscured, but unmistakable to me, from photos I had seen before Brad, her college boyfriend. The caption made me physically ill. "Surprise bachelor weekend. For the man of the hour. Brad's last days of freedom. Number, finally popping the question number. Bradanges forever." My hands shook so badly, I dropped my phone. Bachelor party. Brad and Jessica. What was happening? I scrolled frantically through more photos, each one a knife to my chest. Jessica and Brad, dancing closely. The group on a yacht. Champagne toasts at sunset. I called Jessica 20 times in a row, straight to voicemail. I texted I saw the photos from Cancun, with Brad. What is going on? The message remained unread. In desperation, I called her parents. Her mother answered, sounding uncomfortable. "Artemis, I think Jessica should be the one to talk to you about this," she said carefully. "She will be back tomorrow." "Do you know she is in Cancun with her ex-boyfriend?" I demanded. The silence on the other end was confirmation enough. "She has been confused," her mother finally said. "She needed some time to figure things out." After hanging up, I checked our shared location app, which we had used throughout our relationship for safety and convenience. Jessica had turned hers off. Next, I looked at our joint bank account and saw a large withdrawal made 3 days ago from an ATM in Cancun. That night, I could not sleep. I kept checking social media, torturing myself with more photos that appeared. In one, Jessica was wearing a necklace Brad had apparently just given her. In another, they were sharing what the caption called a romantic dinner for two away from the group. I reached out to our mutual friends, but most avoided my calls or gave vague responses. Finally, my friend Tyler, who knew Jessica through me, revealed that he had heard rumors about Jessica reconnecting with Brad a few months ago, but had dismissed them as gossip. The next morning, I called the venue the caterer, the photographer, wondering if I should start canceling arrangements. But I stopped myself, clinging to the hope that there must be some explanation. Jessica would never betray me like this. Not after all we had shared not 2 weeks before our wedding. On the 5th day, when she was supposed to have returned, I came home from work to find Jessica in our apartment, calmly packing a suitcase. Her normally pale skin was deeply tanned, her hair lighter from the Sunday. She barely looked at me when I entered. "What is happening?" I asked, my voice breaking, despite my determination to stay composed. "Where have you been? Why are you packing?" She continued, folding clothes into her suitcase. "I ran into Brad in Cancun. It was not planned, but when I saw him..." She paused, finally meeting my eyes with a coldness I had never seen before. I realized I never stopped loving him. The room seemed to spin around me. "You are leaving me 2 weeks before our wedding. For a guy you dated in college." "I reconnected with Brad 3 months ago on LinkedIn," she admitted flatly. "We started talking just as friends at first, but I realized I needed to be sure about us before the wedding. By going to Cancun with him, by sleeping with him." The words felt like acid in my mouth. She did not deny it. It just happened. And it made me realize what I really want. She slipped off her engagement ring and placed it on the coffee table. "I am sorry, Artemis. Brad and I are getting back together. He broke up with his fiancée for me." The next hour was a blur of painful revelations. Jessica admitted she had been texting with Brad for months, meeting him for lunch twice when she claimed to be meeting clients. Her friends not only knew about the affair, but had helped facilitate it, arranging the fake bachelorette party as cover for the trip to Cancun, where Brad would coincidentally be celebrating his bachelor weekend. Most shocking of all, her parents had suspicions but said nothing. "They always liked Brad," Jessica said with a shrug. "They thought we were perfect together in college. They told me I should follow my heart before making a lifetime commitment." I learned she had already begun moving some of her things to Brad's apartment the previous week while I was at work. The Cancun trip was meant to be their reunion, a test to see if their connection was still strong. Apparently it was. "What about our wedding?" I asked, gesturing to the planning binder on the shelf. "What about all the deposits, the guests?" Jessica's response was coldly practical. "Most vendors have cancellation policies. The guests will understand. These things happen. These things happen." As if she were describing a rained-out picnic, not the destruction of what I thought was our future together. The financial fallout was immediate and severe. We had paid non-refundable deposits totaling over $15,000 to the venue caterer, florist, and photographer. Jessica refused to contribute to these losses, arguing that since she was not the one who wanted to cancel, she should not have to pay. The humiliation of informing everyone was almost worse than the financial hit. With each call and email, I had to explain that the wedding was off without going into the painful details. Most people were sympathetic, but I could hear the curiosity in their voices, the unasked questions. Jessica's friends were actively hostile. Amanda called me, controlling for questioning Jessica's sudden trip. Tara suggested I should be happy for Jessica finding her true love. They reframed her betrayal as an act of bravery, following her heart despite societal expectations. Within days, our social circle fractured. Most mutual friends sided with Jessica, either explicitly supporting her decision or remaining strategically neutral in a way that felt like abandonment. Only a handful reached out to check on me, and even they seemed uncomfortable with the situation. The isolation was crushing. I took medical leave from work, unable to focus or function normally. My apartment, once our shared home filled with warmth, became a minefield of memories. Her empty closet, the wedding planning binder. I could not bring myself to throw away the framed photos. I turned face down but could not remove. One night, about a week after Jessica left, I drank an entire bottle of whiskey alone in our apartment. The room spun, but the pain remained sharp. I drunk texted Jessica, alternating between desperate pleas and angry accusations. In the morning, I woke up in the emergency room. Apparently, my neighbor had found me unconscious in the hallway and called an ambulance. Severe alcohol poisoning, the doctor said. A wake-up call, as if the universe wanted to test how much pain one person could endure. That same day, scrolling through social media from my hospital bed, I discovered that Jessica and Brad were officially engaged. The announcement featured a photo of them on the beach in Cancun, Jessica wearing a different ring, larger and more ornate than the one I had saved for months to buy her. The caption mentioned they were planning a June wedding at the same venue we had booked, the same venue I had paid a non-refundable deposit for. Jessica had apparently called them directly and transferred the reservation to her name, keeping the same date that was supposed to be our wedding day. The comment section was filled with congratulations. Friends who had RSVP'd to our wedding were now enthusiastically looking forward to hers with Brad. Her mother commented about how everything happens for a reason and how true love finds a way. I hit rock bottom. I could not eat, could not sleep without nightmares. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I stared at my phone, hoping for a message saying it was all a mistake, that she had realized what she was throwing away. But that message never came. My path to recovery began in the most unexpected way. My coworker Tyler, noticing my extended absence, came to check on me. Finding me in my deteriorated state, he refused to leave until I showered and ate a proper meal. Then he dragged me, despite my protests, to a support group for people dealing with betrayal trauma. There I met others whose partners had deceived them in equally devastating ways. A woman named Gabriella shared her story of discovering her fiancé was leading a double life with another woman for their entire 5-year relationship. A man named David talked about his wife emptying their bank accounts and disappearing with his business partner. Their stories did not minimize my pain, but they showed me I was not alone. More importantly, they were all at different stages of healing, proving it was possible to move forward. My estranged brother Anthony, whom I had not spoken to in years, due to a family disagreement, somehow heard about my situation and flew in from California. Having gone through a difficult divorce himself, he understood the unique pain of betrayal. He stayed for 2 weeks, helping me sort through practical matters and simply being present when the grief became overwhelming. The most surprising support came from Jessica's cousin Megan, who reached out via email to express her disgust with Jessica's behavior. What she did was cruel and selfish, Megan wrote. Not everyone in the family supports her actions, though many are too cowardly to say so. With Tyler's encouragement, I consulted a lawyer about the condo and wedding expenses. The consultation revealed that Jessica had withdrawn $8,000 from our joint account before closing it, money that was partially mine. Since we owned the condo together with both names on the mortgage, she could not simply abandon her financial responsibilities. My lawyer sent a formal letter requesting she repay her portion of the lost wedding deposits and return the money taken from our joint account. Jessica initially refused, but when threatened with legal action, she reluctantly agreed to a payment plan. The condo situation became another battle. Jessica wanted to keep her equity without contributing to ongoing mortgage payments. My lawyer advised filing a partition action to force the sale of the property. When Jessica realized I was serious about pursuing legal remedies, she agreed to sell. The real estate market had improved since our purchase, and we sold the condo for $20,000 more than we paid. Despite Jessica's attempts to claim more than her share based on improvements, she claimed to have made the court enforced an equitable division. To my surprise, Jessica's parents reached out after the legal proceedings began. They apologized for their role in the deception and offered to cover $5,000 of the wedding costs. "We should have encouraged Jessica to be honest with you," her father said. "We got caught up in the idea of her reuniting with Brad, but the way this happened was wrong." While the financial and legal victories provided some practical relief, the emotional healing was a slower, more difficult process. I started seeing a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma. Dr. Prustis, 416. Winters helped me understand that Jessica's actions reflected her character flaws, not my worthiness of love. On my brother's suggestion, I took up rock climbing at an indoor gym. The physical challenge and required focus provided an escape from rumination. Gradually, the exercise improved my sleep and restored my appetite. I met other climbers who became casual friendspeople, with no connection to Jessica or our shared past. I deleted all social media accounts for 6 months, cutting off the constant updates about Jessica and Brad that were preventing me from moving forward. The digital detox was initially difficult but ultimately freeing. Without the temptation to check her profiles or see mutual friends' posts, my mind slowly began to clear. My therapist suggested journaling as a way to process my emotions, a practice I initially dismissed as not my thing. But late one night, unable to sleep, I opened my laptop and began typing. What started as an angry letter to Jessica that I would never send evolved into a daily habit of documenting my recovery journey. The act of externalizing my thoughts helped me gain perspective. Professionally, I channeled my energy into work. My team was developing a new security protocol, and I volunteered to lead the project. The long hours and complex problems provided distraction during the day and exhaustion that helped me sleep at night. 6 months after Jessica left, my dedication resulted in a promotion to senior developer with a substantial raise. I used the money from the condo sale and my promotion to fund something I had always wanted to do, a 3-week trip to New Zealand. Hiking through the landscapes where Lord of the Rings was filmed, skydiving over Queenstown, and meeting fellow travelers from around the world showed me how big the world was beyond my failed relationship. During this period of intensive self-work and new experiences, I learned through mutual friends that Jessica and Brad's engagement was showing cracks. Apparently, Brad had been caught texting his ex-fiancée, leading to explosive fights and a break in their relationship. Jessica had posted cryptic quotes about trust on social media, the irony apparently lost on her. I realized with some surprise that the news did not affect me, as it once would have. There was no satisfaction in their troubles, no desire for reconciliation, just a distant acknowledgement of a situation that no longer seemed connected to my life. 1 year after Jessica walked out of our apartment and my life, I barely recognized the man I had become, in the best possible way. I had moved into a new apartment, in a different neighborhood decorated entirely to my taste with no compromises. My promotion had led to exciting new responsibilities at work, and I had even started a side business creating security protocol workshops for small tech companies. My social life had transformed as well. I had reconnected with old college friends who had nothing to do with Jessica. My rock climbing hobby had introduced me to an entire community of outdoor enthusiasts. Most surprisingly, I had formed a friendship with Sophia, a software developer I met at a tech conference. Our coffee meetups to discuss coding challenges had gradually evolved into dinners and movie nights. I was proceeding cautiously, but for the first time I could imagine trusting someone again. Through mutual connections, I heard updates about Jessica's life. Her fairy tale reunion with Brad had crumbled spectacularly when 3 weeks before their wedding he was caught cheating with one of her bridesmaids. The wedding was called off amidst public drama and recriminations. The irony was not lost on anyone. Jessica's professional life had suffered during the personal chaos. Her distraction and frequent absences had resulted in her being passed over for an important project, then eventually let go during company restructuring. She had posted vague, introspective captions about karma and learning hard lessons on social media. Several mutual friends reported that Jessica had been asking about me, wondering if I would be open to talking. She had apparently expressed regret about how she had handled things and claimed to have grown from the experience. Through these same friends, I politely declined any contact. My healing did not require her apology or closure from her perspective. The personal growth I experienced through this ordeal surprised even me. I recognized patterns in our relationship I had been blind to before. How Jessica had always kept certain parts of her life separate from me. How she would withdraw rather than address conflicts directly. How she prioritized appearances over authenticity. I learned to identify my own tendencies that had made me vulnerable. My willingness to overlook red flags when I was emotionally invested. My habit of filling in gaps with positive assumptions. My tendency to take responsibility for others' happiness. These insights did not just help me heal from Jessica's betrayal. They transformed how I approached all relationships. My boundaries became stronger. I no longer felt compelled to maintain friendships with people who had shown their true colors during my crisis. I became more comfortable expressing my needs and expectations clearly. Most importantly, I developed a deeper relationship with myself, understanding that my worth was not determined by someone else's ability to recognize it. The financial setback from the wedding cancellation and legal battles eventually turned into a blessing in disguise. It forced me to reevaluate my spending habits and investment strategy. Now, I was putting away more for retirement than ever before, and had started a fund for eventually buying a house on my own terms. Through therapy and reflection, I came to understand that betrayal, while painful, can be transformative. Jessica's actions forced me to confront fundamental questions about trust, love, and resilience. Each day of rebuilding my life required conscious choices to move forward rather than remain trapped in bitterness. Forgiveness came gradually, not as a gift to Jessica, but as a release for myself. I did not excuse or minimize what she had done, but I refused to let anger continue consuming my energy. The peace that came from this decision was perhaps the most unexpected outcome of the entire experience. One evening, as Sophia and I walked along the Charles River after dinner, she asked about my past relationships. I found I could tell the story without the raw pain that had once accompanied it. It taught me that sometimes losing what you thought was everything opens the door to what you really need. I concluded. "Do you regret any of it?" she asked. I thought for a moment, watching the sunset reflect on the water. I regret the pain, but not the growth that came from it. I am actually grateful for the person I have become through that experience. The most profound lesson I learned was that resilience is not about avoiding falls, but about rising after them. Jessica's betrayal was not the end of my story, but merely a difficult chapter that led to a stronger, more authentic version of myself. I now approached relationships with both wisdom and openness, cautious, but not closed off to possibilities. As I reach the end of this story, I wonder how many of you have experienced similar betrayals. Did it transform you too? Leave a comment below sharing how you overcame a major betrayal in your life. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more journeys of overcoming life's challenges. And consider sharing this video with someone who might be going through their own healing process right now. Remember, sometimes our deepest wounds become our greatest sources of strength. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you resilience in your own journey wherever it may lead.